you very much. There is no truth to the rumor, but for those of us over 40, that OPO is going to be going old professionals and investors. No, there's no. Before we start, I want to say we're here obviously because Mark Donaldson is stepping down. Mark, will you stand up? 4 terms as Ector County Sheriff. Can we give him a round of applause? I asked him why not a 5th, and he said he doesn't want to set the record for the longest tenure. So, right? All right. Well, Mark, thank you. And obviously, why we're here is for this debate on the candidates that will replace Mark. A little bit of the House rules. Each of these guys will have a 2-minute opening statement. They will also have a 3-minute closing statement. As we get questions, and those questions are asked to the candidates, they will have 1 minute to answer. If there is a rebuttal question, they will have 30 seconds. If you have questions, there are green cards on your table. Please fill those out. We'll come around and collect those. Some questions may be duplicates that we receive, and so those will be filtered through Laura Dennis and the OA staff to see those questions, and then we'll be given to Corey Paul, who will be your moderator for today's debate. So we hope that you will partake, that you will write some questions down so we can all kind of learn about the candidates. 2 very good candidates in this race, and let's see how this plays out. So without further ado, let me introduce Corey Paul with the Odessa American. He's your moderator for today.
So I just wanted to remind you both that you do not have to use the full time we've got, but we use a virtue, and the shorter we are, the more ground we can cover. First, we're going to do opening statement. We'll just go in ballot order, alphabetical order. So you go first, Joe, and then we'll do the opposite.
No. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and the young professionals for inviting us. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joe Commander. I was born and raised here in Odessa, Texas. Graduated from high school here. Attended Odessa College. Began my law enforcement career in October 1972. Went to work for Sheriff Slim Gabriel. From there, I moved to Lubbock County. Went to work for the sheriff up there, 73 to 77. And I was recruited back home by the assistant chief of police here. At that time was Tommy Callier. Went back to work for the Odessa Police Department. 1980, we had a boom going on, so I jumped out there and went to the oil field service business. Had a forklift service for about 9.5 years. I was elected constable in '88. 1989, the district attorney, Gary Garrison, called me and asked me if I'd like to go back to work for the county. Of course, I had a sales job also at the time, and the constable job only paid like $150 a month. So I thought, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Had good benefits, good retirement, stuff like that. So I went back to work for Gary Garrison. Then in 1996, Bob Brookshire hired me. I worked for Bob. I worked for the next sheriff, Reggie Yearwood, and then I went to work for Mark. And then an opening became available in the district attorney's office, and I went to work for John Smith at the time. And John was appointed district judge, and I began working for the district attorney now, Bobby Bland. And Bobby took over, he promoted me to chief investigator. Pretty much, like I say, I've been here in Odessa all my life. I've got 34 years of law enforcement experience, 29 here in Ector County.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to be here. I'm certainly thankful for the invite from the young professionals. Proud to have Corey here. Thank all of y'all for coming and showing your support, your interest in the race for both of us. I would just like to say I wish everyone would pray for the 6 officers that have lost their lives this week before you do anything else. But I am Mike Griffiths, and I am running for sheriff of this county. I've lived here all my life, born and raised here. My family's here. My 84-year-old father's here today. I'm proud of that. I became a reserve deputy in 1989 with the Ector County Sheriff's Office. I was a working reserve. evenings. I was a reserve deputy for 4 years. I was elected constable, beginning my tenure in 1993. 2 years later, Bob Brookshire, sheriff, hired me, and that's where I've been ever since. I've been a deputy, a sergeant, a lieutenant, an investigator, and I'm now currently the third command of your sheriff's office. I'm a member of the Rotary. I'm on the board of Project Lifesaver, which is a free service offered to our mentally impaired citizens that might wander off through the sheriff's office. I intend to make this a safe place for you to raise your children. I intend to make this community-oriented, involved sheriff's office, and I sure appreciate your support, and I appreciate your vote.
Okay, thank you guys. And I want to remind everybody too that this is streaming right now, being recorded, streaming on our website, which is oaoa.com. Afterwards, you can see it there. We'll have some links on Facebook as well. Also, want to encourage everybody to ask questions. We have lots of them, but audience participation is super cool, and they are both armed, but you do not have to be gentle. Okay, so let's get the sheriff's office has broad duties, including managing the jail, overseeing patrol investigators, then civil duties and courthouse security duties. I want to first talk a little bit about the policing side, your approach to policing. How would you deploy your deputies?
Currently, we have 9 positions open on each patrol shift. We're not completely full this time. We're hoping to get all those positions full shortly. We have a couple of positions open in CID. We will pull from our patrol division to fill those positions, leaving some more positions open on patrol. Our busiest area in Ector County is West Odessa. We have to answer calls. We answer between 80 and 100 calls every 24 hours. We try to have a minimum of 6 deputies on the street at a time, and sometimes they're running their tails off. It would be wonderful if we could add some more folks to our patrol shifts and relieve some of this stress. And but we're stuck in a pretty tight budget right now. I do plan on, in fact, we are at this time in the process of getting an organized crime unit grant to try to alleviate some of the drug crimes and gang crimes that are going on in our county right now, and hopefully we can get the community more oriented and involved so that we can start putting a dent in some of this stuff.
Well, as a quick follow-up to that for you, Joe, you had mentioned a specialized unit where you have 2 fellows attached to the DEA task force, and you have some plans for remaining spaces for that.
Well, we do have two officers that are assigned to the DEA task force. This organized crime unit will be separate from them. It'll be through a grant, and it'll be 2 additional officers to combat the gangs and the drug problem we have here.
Okay, thank you.
Well, with the downturn in our economy, I know it's tough to keep people. When it was booming, everybody moved to the oil field to make more money. With the downturn, I think we should have a good pool of people to choose from. There's some good qualified people out there. We just got to reach out and tell them what the benefits would be to go to work for Ector County, as far as career in law enforcement or correctionals. I know they're short in the jail also, as patrol. That's another problem they have. But I want to hire our local people first. I like the local people that know the streets. I like people that work the jail. We need to really work hard at promoting them out onto the streets. I know they're promised that when they go to work, that they'll eventually work the street, and what a better person could you have? They already know the crooks. They'll be put with a training officer who will teach them the paperwork, and most of them are already know the area, so we're money ahead by promoting out of the jail and hiring our own people first instead of hiring out-of-town folks, so to speak. The specialized unit, that is one of my projects that I want to look at also. I want to also add, I want to invite the police department, the Odessa Police Department. We're going to work real hard on interagency cooperation. I want to invite them to, if they have additional manpower to supplement us, I want to get DPS involved. If the feds can lend manpower there too, and also the surrounding counties, because this crime is lit that we have here also leaks over into our surrounding counties.
So you mentioned task force, interagency task force. This speaks to an audience question that we have. How amenable are other agencies to that idea? And more generally, I'll put this to both of you, how does communication between the sheriff's office and police department work? How often are investigations handled jointly?
Well, we're going to have to, I'll have to get with the police chief, and so with Mr. Griffiths, and work out an agreement to supplement this, to work, hand in hand together. Also with the other sheriffs in the same county, we'll have to get with them and work out some type of agreement where everybody works together and has jurisdiction in each other's counties. Right now, I've seen our interagency cooperation needs to be really worked on. It's lacking with the police department, Department of Public Safety, school district, other agencies. We've got to bring everybody together and our citizens and make this a team effort to combat this crime here in Odessa. I'm not proud of the fact that we are the most violent city in Texas. That's not a title I like. And we're going to work on that. We're going to be very proactive in reducing crime. And, I believe the citizens of Ector County deserve to be safe. And we're going to target these neighborhoods that are held hostage by these dope dealers that live next door to these people that call every day. We're going to make a special effort to pay special attention to them and the gangs, as Mr. Griffith said. We're going to really focus on them, document them, and prosecute, build cases, present to the district attorney to prosecute them at the fullest extent.
Well, I've stated before that it is my wish to have the best relationship with all the other agencies in this area than we've ever had. The hospital district, school district, DPS. I do want to reach out to these folks, and when we're all fighting the same people, we're all fighting the same game on a daily basis. We need to have cooperation at the fullest with all these, and there are cases that we absolutely get great cooperation, and we collaborate together and do great together. But I want to expand on that. I want to make it better. I want us all to work together and be able to work together. We have an epidemic of methamphetamine use here. We need to get them in jail, so they won't be stealing your stuff, and get them prosecuted, and get them sent to prison, so they won't be in our jail here in Ector County. And I plan on forging those those relationships with the area agencies, with the prosecutors, and getting this thing done.
Joe, you just mentioned something that you mentioned in conversation with me before about Odessa's ranking as one of the most cities based on FBI reporting. I think that was from 13 or 14. If you hear counterparts in the Odessa Police Department, like the chief or the or city manager, Richard Morton, talked about this, they take a different view, and that involves population. The argument being that crime is overplayed in the media, and that if you look at our population growth proportionally, that the crime increases that we've seen are maybe not as extreme as they often do. I'd like to go to address that. I don't like that much further.
Well, I'm just gonna tell you that we've got to get these people prosecuted. We've got to give them stiff sentences and get them sent to prison. One of the problems is TDCJ is given 25 to 30 days to one. So if you give them a 5-year sentence, guess how quick they're gonna get back here to our streets? Really and truly. I mean, it's really sad. The whole justice system is hurting in Texas. We're gonna have to make good cases on them, get them prosecuted, and get them sent to prison. Absolutely. That's what we're gonna have to do. I mean, that is the best fix for the problem. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, you referenced to getting them prosecuted. Of course, the sheriff's office does not contain a district attorney. So, and we've talked about this a little bit over the course of the past week. How would you approach, securing more prosecutions for drug offenses?
Well, I would get with the prosecutors and try to get them for these repeat felony offenders. We've got to get them sent to prison because they're going to come back. They're going to do the same stuff that they're doing now. They're going to break into your homes, just like they were doing before they went to prison for a year or whatever. I don't know about how y'all feel, but if somebody breaks into my house and they get a year in prison, that's not enough. That is absolutely not enough. And I'm not saying, but what I'm saying is, if they get sent to prison, TDCJ gives them so many days to 1 day, 25 to 30 to 1, they're back. So we're gonna have to enhance, I want us to enhance that.
Okay, and Joe, as a reminder, are we really the most dangerous city?
Well, you cover all the crime stuff. You kind of look at the blotter every day. You've got a half a page to 3/4 of a page. As far as that, I just go along with what the FBI Uniform Crime Report says, and they have ranked us that and given us that title. Our city officials, and we've got a great city manager and a great police chief, but everyone wants to portray their towns as being safe. Well, from the looks of things, and all the people we prosecute, I'm telling you, it's not that safe. We've got a huge crime problem that we've got to be very proactive in the things we do. We've got to have this interagency cooperation is one of the keys to stopping this. With Sheriff's Office, police departments, Texas Department of Public Safety, the FBI, the federal people, and the citizens of Odessa. We've all got to work together as a team to combat this problem. Now, as far as the prosecution part, I can tell you the district attorney is working as hard as we can. We took in over 3,000 felony cases this year. Last year, that was a record. We had 2,100 the year before. I know, I did some looking yesterday, and we've got 43 people 43 felons sitting in the county jail right now, waiting on TDCJ to come pick them up, and they've been there a long time. We've got 29 out of another court sitting there, so if we, you know, we're gonna have to have help from TDCJ also to help clean our jails out, so we can make room for some more.
Here's an audience question. Assess the recent performance of the sheriff's office, and if elected, would you keep it going in the same direction or change course?
Well, we as a sheriff's office, have done a pretty good job overall. We, like I said, we answer 120 calls every 24 hours. Those cases are then, those reports that are generated during the day are sent to our CID division and assigned to an investigator. And we do a pretty good job following up and getting those people arrested on the cases that are, that have leads that we can follow. There are certain criteria that have to be met in some of these cases for us to make an arrest, for us to get a warrant and arrest somebody. You know, I would really like to get our CID division filled up, which it looks like we're gonna do here in the near future. And so we'll have some more folks to assign these cases to and get them followed up and get the bad guys arrested, get them put in jail.
You're probably distill that to the sheriff's department is on the right track.
We've got some momentum. We have some momentum going, and we're gonna, increase on that and build on that and try to get the ball rolling a little quicker, with some cooperation with our courts and other agencies.
Well, I know for a fact that the men and women at the sheriff's office work as hard as they can. I'm out there, I stop, when they've got people stopped, assist them. They're doing the best job they can. But if I thought it was going in the right direction, I wouldn't be running for sheriff. I think there is always room for improvement. I don't care what type of company you run, whether it's law enforcement, private sector, you always strive to improve and be the best you can be. So I think we're going to look at these programs that they have. If they're working, we won't, you know, like the old saying says, if it's not broke, don't mess with it. But if it's broken, we're going to tweak it up and make it work even better for these men and women. Try to make their job a little bit easier, and with the idea in mind of making our citizens safer.
I've got about 3 of these questions. Joe, kind of paraphrase. Would you address chatter that you would clean house at the sheriff's office upon taking office? And would you keep the administrative staff?
I thought no one had ever asked me that question. Those men and women at the sheriff's office, I cannot do without them. I am not going to work patrol by myself. I'm not going to work that jail by myself. I've got to have these qualified men and women that I've got to have all the experience I can get to make this thing work. As far as the you know, the administration, when you go in a small sheriff's office, say just for example, not that they do it at Crane, if they acquire a new sheriff, a lot of those smaller sheriff's office, they do clean house. 250 employees, we're not cleaning house. I've got to have those people. Typically, I've seen this, I've been in many of these transitions, from Slim Gabriel to Elwood Hill, on from Bob Brookshire to Reggie Yearwood to Sheriff Donaldson. They all bring in their own administration. They surround themselves with people that they trust and people that are on the same page with them, trying to accomplish the same goals, which to make that sheriff's office run in a more positive, proactive manner to protect the citizens of Ector County.
And would you do the same?
Absolutely. I will do the same. We've got good qualified people, but I'm not gonna be any different than Sheriff Dawson is. You've got to surround yourself with your own team to make everything work. And we will. And the guys that are out there working those streets and working that jail, they don't have to worry. Let Mike and I have all the stress. Y'all just do your jobs and keep doing them in a professional manner.
Do you want to weigh on that, Mike? I just want to touch on something.
Well, contrary to what I was told this morning, the sheriff, and everybody in the administration has not told anyone that Mr. Commander would fire anybody if he were elected. And that would absolutely be stupid on his part if he did. He's correct, because there are a lot of qualified people that work there, dedicated people, and they know what they're doing. I do know there's folks that will not stay if I'm not elected, and he will have to fill those positions if he is elected. But I just want to rebut that, because I have not told anyone that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've asked both of you to name who your chief deputy would be, number 2 in the sheriff's office, and both of you have declined to answer that question a couple times, saying that it would be tantamount to offering a gift or some sort of improper bribe. Of course, we have another election going on right now, presidential election, and these people will name vice presidential picks for that election, and it's hardly, bribe or gift. But it does show voters the way that their administration might look. So if you guys will not today name who your chief deputy would be, would you please talk about the sort of rubric or criteria you would use in selecting them?
Well, you're right, I won't name that person or anyone else. You cannot promise anyone a job until you're elected. I would want that second in command to be not only a lawman, but I want him to be a businessman that can, that knows, we can complement each other with our knowledge of running the budgets, making personnel decisions, everyday decisions about the sheriff's office and what direction we want to go. There's what those people do on that national level I guess they can name those people, which, everybody wants to know. They're not, just like on a local level, everybody wants to know. They're just not, we just can't do that. So, but I promise you, and I know Mr. Griffiths will look at them very closely and select the most qualified person out there to be second in command.
Well, absolutely, we need a very qualified and reputable guy or woman, man or woman, to be that chief deputy. I would select a person that is very experienced in law enforcement, experienced with budgets, experienced with administration, supervisory experience, and somebody that is dedicated to do the job. And that person, in the sheriff's absence, has to be the acting sheriff. If the sheriff's gone to conferences or whatever, when he's out, that person is the acting sheriff. And they have to be able to handle the position of that office at that time. So it would be somebody that's a very honorable, trustworthy individual.
Okay, and I want to point to another point of agreement between you guys. Both of you have said that you would like to grow the reserve deputy force. Both of you said you'd like to do more targeted patrols and neighborhood watches. What happened to the reserve deputy force, and how would you get more people and
I got in the reserve program in 1989, there were about 70 members. There were about 70 reserve deputies. I mean, it was a big bunch of guys and girls. And that faded away over the years. Back in those days, you could become a reserve deputy with an abbreviated academy and work, just work in your off time or whatever. But to be a reserve deputy today, you have to be fully certified. That means going through a full academy, which takes a lot of time. People have jobs, and they can't attend those academies like some of us did. I understand what us colleges trying to bring their night academy back, which is what I attended, and that would be a wonderful thing for anybody who wants to go to work in law enforcement as a reserve or a full-time certified peace officer. I would like to build on the reserve program and have a larger number of individuals, but some of the individuals we have now have jobs, and they can't work as much as they like. But I would certainly like to build on that and try to recruit some folks and maybe some retirees that have worked for other agencies to come and join our reserve program.
Well, it's always been my thought in 1989 that program was at very, very high strength people. There were very good quality businessmen and involved in that program, and everybody loved to work for Bob Brookshire. I don't mind patting him on the back. He's not around with us today, but people like working for him. But over the years, I know that some of the older reserves have probably passed on, and but now, in this downturn of economy, there's people with time on their hands that I believe if you approached them and encouraged them to join the Sheriff's Reserve, that some of those folks would take the time to attend the academies. I'm like Mr. Griffiths. It's a long academy. You've got to be dedicated. You've got to want to do it. It's just like law enforcement. It's not just a job for me. It's a calling. I've done it all my life. So we gotta encourage those men and women to join this reserve unit and get them engaged in the day-to-day activities of the sheriff's office. Include them in these special projects we have going on. These directed patrols in these hot spots in these neighborhoods. Get them involved, team them up with seasoned veterans to help combat this gang problem. But that is one of the things I'm going to do is really recruit people for this reserve unit. It's at no cost to the taxpayer, so let's get as many qualified people signed up and put them to work.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. What would be your policy on chases in the city limits or in residential areas? The reason I ask is because, as I understand it, OPD has more of a strict policy about this than the sheriff's office does right now. Deputies have a little bit more discretion and who they chase and why.
Well, PD does have a very strict policy, and they have that for a reason. There's a lot of, with this influx of people we've had, you drive around the streets of Odessa today, and it's crowded. Yesterday at 5 o'clock, I was headed home, and I sat through 3 red lights at University in Dixie just to get through there. So you cannot effectively and safely chase anyone in that type of traffic at that time of day. I think the sheriff's office has an adequate policy right now. I believe that they've added to it a little bit from the last 4 years, put a little more rules in it. You've got to have people out there, these deputies, they've got to use their discretion when they start chasing people, such as road conditions, traffic conditions, pavement conditions, whether it's wet, dry, heavy traffic, medium traffic, light traffic, all of that. They've got to know and have the discretion to end those pursuits. If they get close enough to get that tag number and things get really dangerous, we cannot endanger the public out there on the streets. We don't want to get anybody hurt, and I don't want to get any of those deputies hurt. It does us no good to wreck those cars and cause harm to our people, both civilians and our deputies on the street. So, there's good supervisors out there. They're smart guys. They will have the final say on ending pursuits. They can make that call for the deputy. So, there's Class C misdemeanors. That's always a beer run. Best we can do is probably try to get close enough, get that tag number, get a warrant later, and pick that person up, depending upon the chase conditions.
Thank you, Jim.
We currently do pursue offenders who evade. Evading in motor vehicles has been ruled by the Supreme Court as being a violent crime, which is a felony. And we do, however, if the offender is going into the city, we are going to shut it off. We're not going to go in the city and chase these people. That being said, it all depends on the speed of the offender, the conditions, the traffic, what time of day is it. All these factors come into play, and the officer does have that discretion, but our shift supervisors, the sergeant lieutenant, can shut them off at any point in time, and they do. And our absolute goal is to make sure our citizens are not injured, and we get the bad guy. As Mr. Commander said, a lot of them are Class C misdemeanors and start out as that way. But we can't just go get a warrant because we haven't identified the driver. You can't identify the driver, you can't get a warrant. So we've got to stop them and get them. And we will continue to pursue bad guys as long as it is safe as it can be for our community and our citizens.
This came up at an Ector Bar Association forum yesterday. What would be your approach to deputies handling traffic offenses and DWIs and so forth?
Well, I've worked traffic, patrol, everything that's connected to law enforcement in my 34 years. I have the experience. I don't have a problem with deputies working traffic. Matter of fact, in the way the fatalities are going on around here, every day, every week, I would encourage that at this point. I wouldn't mind having these guys or starting a weekly deal where we'd kind of like the PD has, these safe zones, just target areas where these fatalities are happening and help the Texas Department of Public Safety, who are extremely busy running from accident to accident to accident, when our guys can be out there helping them also with this traffic problem, which helps the citizens of Ector County. Now, the DWI, when a deputy stops someone for DWI, that person needs to go to jail for the DWI, but they have to be certified to run the intoxilizer, do the nystagmus test. They must be certified to do that, and we have no one certified. We're tying up two different agencies when they stop someone. You've got DPS or the city tied up in doing what a sworn officer can do if they're trained properly and they're certified. You cannot PI someone that's driving a car. That may be a PI, you may have PI'd somebody on his 6th felony DWI, and you're putting him in jail, and the next DWI, he could kill someone. He needs to be off the street right then, and our deputies should have the tools and the certification to do that instead of calling another agency.
I would like to, we have had a program where we can pay our off 50 deputies overtime to work traffic and target areas where there are aggressive drivers. And there are a bunch of them out there. And we're running out of that money, so we haven't done it lately. And, but I will seek grants to, target aggressive drivers. We need some of those people off the street, we need tickets written, and get their attention. They're hurting our innocent people by their driving. Touching on the DWIs, absolutely, we need to get those folks arrested and off the street. I don't know that I would be totally against getting our deputies certified, to do the toxicology and stuff like that, but we have an agreement with DPS for them to do it. And one of the main reasons is so our deputies can get back on the street and answer those 80 to 120 calls a day that we're having to answer. Like Sheriff Brookshire told me one time, that's why the good Lord created DPS. And that's what I believe. We've got a great working relationship with those guys, and they take care of that for us. And there are times that they're not available. We absolutely need probably somebody to get certified, so we don't let those folks get anything less than what they deserve. And I don't know that that happens, but those folks need to be off the street.
This could be a quick yes or no. Will you keep in God We Trust on the trucks?
Sure.
The In God We Trust stickers on the.
Absolutely. Well,
Absolutely, we'll keep those on the car. I commend Sheriff Donaldson for doing that. I wish he'd been the first one in the state of Texas to do that. Hey, he got them on there, and I'm in 100% agreement with that.
We absolutely will, and we put crosses on them too.
Game rooms. This is an audience question. Do you guys see game rooms with illegal gambling as a problem? How would you approach this problem? So, and you might add to that is the punishment side as it works now.
I think game rooms in Ector County are out of control. They shut them down in the city. They have rules, regulations. They can't follow them. They move to the county. They move in every vacant building that they can rent. That problem is out of control. Whether it's illegal, when they're making payments, when they're paying people cash, that's illegal. That's gambling. It also, those game rooms breed dope dealing in there. They're the source of being robbed. They're causing our patrol guys to have to respond and our investigators to work cases. They are a nuisance. No game room wants to play by the rules. The only way they can legally operate is to give playbacks, and the customers don't want to come in and get playbacks. Everybody wants money, but until that is legalized, it is absolutely against the law. Sheriff Painter doesn't allow it in his county. He has raided those game rooms. I think we ought to get undercover officers here to go in, make cases, take them to the county attorney or district attorney, depending if they can work up to the felony statute. And I know Mr. Bland has prosecuted those before. Seize that money, seize those motherboards, seize those machines. Sheriff Painter sold them, put a lot of money back into the county coffers over there. There's a lot of things he doesn't allow over there that they get away with outside the city limits. It's just it's a problem that I get calls on every day, and I have to refer them somewhere else. And that is something that I really believe needs to be looked at, just due to the criminal activity that happens in those places.
Well, like what would he not allow in Midland County that would be, I guess, more allowed in Ector County?
Well, we could allow a game room, we just gotta bring them into compliance. And you're gonna have to bust, they're gonna have to be prosecuted, some of them, to get their attention. Because they know right now, it's absolutely lawlessness out there. They're just running those game rooms day and night, 24 hours a day, with no oversight from any law enforcement at all.
We have hit the game rooms, we hit several of them, one day here a while back, and here again, you know, our legislature doesn't think the problem is enough of a problem, because I'm telling you right now, that is a breeding ground for trouble, it is. But the crime and the punishment is not enough to deter those people. We shut them down, we take their stuff, they pay their fines, and they're back in business in 2 weeks because they're making some money. Well, we're gonna have to enhance, the legislature's gonna have to make those crimes punishable by more stringent sentences. I mean, that's just the way it is. And we're looking at hitting them again here in the next little bit. We're gonna hit them again. And they'll be back in business, most likely, until we can get them punished for what they're doing.
Okay, now a fun one. How would you address jail overcrowding, and how does this strategy differ from your opponent?
Well, our jail overcrowding has been going on for a few years now. We have over 380 people in our jail awaiting felony trials. I hope that the Fifth Court will help get those guys and girls expedited through court, get them sentenced, and get them out of here. The individuals that are awaiting transfer to TDCJ, well, we get a fax every week from TDCJ and telling us who they're gonna pick up, how many they're gonna pick up. Maybe 8, maybe 11, maybe 14. We don't get to pick, because they're not just picking up in Ector County, they're picking up in Crane and Kermit and wherever. We don't get any special treatment. We don't get any better treatment than any other county does. But our misdemeanor citations for the lesser offense misdemeanors, we're trying to utilize that. The bonding program we got going is going to help us, I believe. The commissioners and the county judge have spoken in the past about building on, and they said they did not want to build on it this time because of the cost. We are closer than we've ever been to getting our jail staff, our jails fully staffed, and hopefully we'll get that done here in the next month or two, and that will alleviate some of those jailers having to work overtime to fill empty slots. We have to have one jailer for 48 inmates. If we don't have that, we're not going to be in compliance, and we're going to be in a bind.
Well, I agree with Mr. Griffiths that overcrowding is a problem. It's costing us a lot of money. The sheriff's office is spending Ector County is spending $1.8 million a year housing these inmates in other counties. I've spoken to a county official that was very favorable of building or possibly looking at the possibility of adding on to the facility like Midland did with the vinyl and metal tent. I call it a tent city over there. That would be one of our alternatives. The new, such as Midland County, they have that bonding system that we're looking at starting, and I'll be glad when it kicks off to see how it works here. They have over 2,100 people out on bond, Midland County does, and they charge something like 3% instead of what the bonding companies charge 10 to 15. So you have a whole lot better chance of bonding those misdemeanors out of jail that are taking up that bed space where we can put felons. We've got to work with the TDCJ people, establish a good rapport with them, see if we can speed up some way or another, get with them and find out what we need to do to help them, get them people out. Well, I know they're sitting out there in that jail with their pen papers, they're ready to go, 300 and something in jail, awaiting trial. We've probably got I would bet a couple of hundred waiting to go to the pen. So we've got to get that process sped up. And that bonding, that county bonding deal will help us a bunch, I guarantee you. We got to work with the county commissioners and get this thing fixed.
I'll make it right back to you. The 10, as you call it. Talk about the costs involved and the staff involved.
From what I understand, it costs $900 and some odd thousand to build that enclosed area. That would be a one-time cost, that and adding a jailer or whatever it's going to take to properly staff that. It's still going to be less than 1.8 million at a one-time cost, and we're paying that 1.8 million every year to transport these prisoners out. We're endangering we are endangering our deputies' lives by hauling those people to and from that county. They've got to be here for hearings. The poor transport guys, I guarantee you they're being worked. They work hard, but they're being overworked. We've got when you put them down into Hoka, that's a pretty good trip, round trip. Not only do you bring them up here, you got to take them back. So we're endangering a lot of lives, using a lot of gas, wearing out cars. I'm very in favor of, I've got to get with the county commissioners, county judge, county attorney, district judges, municipal court judges, and the TDCJ people, and see if we can fix this overcrowding problem. But the 10 it's a one-time investment, and it'll be a whole lot cheaper than running them back and forth from every year.
And before I let Mike respond, the living conditions of the town.
Well, I understand that over there, all they keep in their little facility is misdemeanors, and they have very, very few. They've got one jailer taking care of that facility, and they tell me, I talked to a jailer over in Midland County the other day, and they said, you can eat off the floor, and it's that clean. They've got the inmates working on it. They're keeping their living quarters clean, and they've got that jailer there supervising. So it's very, very livable. It shouldn't be a Holiday Inn or a Garden Hilton. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be jail. It's a holding facility. The sheriff's job is to maintain a safe and secure facility, and I think that will that's what it's built for. It'll have a 15-foot fence or whatever around it.
Mike, you talked a little bit about that idea yesterday, and I believe that included a different cost estimate. Could you explain?
Well, when Midland County built that facility, it was right at $1 million to build it. Well, the average construction cost has gone up 3% a year. So that would make the initial cost of it at least $1.5 million. And depending on how big you make it, how many inmates it's going to hold, for every 48 inmates, you've got to have 5 people in the shift relief factory. It's not just one person. You're going to have to hire 5 for every 48. So that's an extra $250,000 initially. And that's if we can be fully staffed and get some people hired to staff that facility.
Could you clarify the 1.5 million? I was looking.
3%, the average cost, construction cost has gone up an average of close to $1 million, so, I mean, you're looking at $1.5 million initially.
Does the county need a permanent expansion of the jail? So to clarify, the tent structure is more of a temporary structure, rather than a broader physical expansion of the jail.
Well, it's not made out of brick and mortar, but it is it's not temporary over there, it won't be temporary here. It'll be a working, part of that working jail. It'll be like I said, you know, if it's going up 3% every year, it's still a one-time investment. We're spending $1.8 million. So it's a workable solution. At least we're being proactive in addressing that solution and trying to ease this overcrowding problem. Along with, like I said, the Ector County's going into the bonding business. And like I said, that tent is it's livable, it's clean. They have no gripes over there. I think that holds 72 people, and they have less than 48 because they've got one jailer working it all the time. The way I look at it, that tent's good enough for Sheriff Joe in Arizona, it's good enough for me.
Yesterday at the lawyer deal, you mentioned an idea you had to improve the jail booking process. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I know everybody's sick of hearing me brag on Midland County, but they've got a program. I think they're way ahead of us, to be honest with you. They've got a program over there in their cars, I understand, that once a deputy stops someone or takes them into custody, they can fill out the booking sheet right there in the car, punch a button, it sends it right straight to the jail. So the booking sheet's complete. That's a time saver. My idea on that is I want to get that turnaround time, get those guys in and out of that jail as quickly as possible. And that's not only the sheriff's office, but DPS, U.S. Marshals, school district, TABC, anybody else that's bringing people in. You know, crime's 24/7. It's not slowing down, so we got to get our people back out there as quick as we can. And that will speed that process up. Once that officer gets to the jail, and he'll walk that person in, do the inventory. I want that sheet of paper to also have the medical on it. We have to ask certain questions. There's that might prolong everything just a little bit. It depends on the inmate's answer to those medical questions and stuff. But one thing for sure, it's going to speed it up. And anything we can do to speed that process up, to get our guys back out on the street, to keep the citizens of Ector County safe, I'm working in that direction.
Mike, do you want to start that? Sure.
That question was directed from a lady in the audience, and she had stated that there were 5 units from another agency out there for over an hour. Well, that other agency has their own room in our jail, and they have a different process of doing their booking. They have to do extra paperwork. There has been people seen in there just visiting and wasting time instead of getting back on the street. We do have some good trained people in our booking area. We're only one short of a booking clerk right now, and we're always working on processes and procedures, trying to speed that up to get our guys and the PD guys and DPS guys back out on the street to serve you people and answer your calls. But it should not absolutely take that long unless there's an influx of prisoners. Not before last, we took in 31 inmates. So that's absolutely gonna slow the process down some. You can't just go in there and jump to the front of the line. It's a first come, first served when you get there. And 31 people in a night, that's quite a few folks. It's not a fast process. When they book somebody in, they have certain questions and certain criteria to go by, and have to do certain things depending on how those questions are answered by that inmate. But we always try to improve on the procedures we've got to expedite that process and get those guys back on the street.
Okay, we've been good about covering a lot of ground, but we are running out of time, so if we could move quickly, keep it short, I think we can get out of here and cover a good bit more. Here's a good audience question. Maybe I can pull it into two. I'll give you two questions, deal with the same matter. As sheriff, how will you foster an environment that ensures fair treatment for all people that are served by Ector County? One. Number two, as sheriff, what tangible actions will you take to promote community outreach and build community relationships with Hispanic and African American communities?
Well, as I said, I want to revitalize the Neighborhood Watch program. I think we need to get more of our citizens involved in what we're doing. I would like to have something similar to the Citizens Police Academy that they have over there, and have our citizens come to the sheriff's office once a week, and have a 2 or 3 hour class and see what the mechanics are of our place, see what we do there, and invite the media to come to these events and reach out to everyone in the community. We're all one big community here of all races, and we need to get together to make our place a safer place. And it is my intention to get the community more involved in your sheriff's office. Absolutely.
Well, the neighborhood program, watch program, is just pretty much non-existent and has been for a long time. We're gonna get that cranked back up and running. We will have, I intend to have quarterly meetings out in the community to address the concerns of the citizens that live here. I go back to the community policing process. You get out and we gotta make these citizens feel like they're a part of this sheriff's office, because it belongs to them. It doesn't belong to myself or Mr. Griffiths. It belongs to everyone here, and I want everybody to be a part of that. I've always said I'll keep the criminals locked in, not the public locked out. My door will be open for everyone. We will have a transparent sheriff's office. We have nothing to hide. We're out there to serve the citizens, and we're going to serve them in a professional manner. Anyone has a problem, they'll be able to come into my office, and they won't be locked out in a lobby. They can come right on in and see the administrative secretary and get right in. Never liked that. Bob Brookshire and the old sheriffs, I remember us, we'd always just walk right in, and he'd see you, wave you on in. There's nothing wrong with that system. We're here to, I'm the servant of the people, and that's just the way it ought to be. So we're going to be a progressive department, very community orientated. I have a great working relationship with the minorities, the black community, and the Hispanic community. They call me all the time to solve problems. So we'll have a great relationship with all those people.
Very quickly, you brought up transparency. What would be y'all's policy for allowing inmates to speak to the media? Right now, that's restricted.
Well, they've had inmates interviewed out there before, and honestly, as far as my position with the district attorney's office, that has helped us tremendously, because we can use that, we can subpoena the news media to testify against them as to what they said. So I have no problem with that. They want to talk to the news media, boy, let them have it. Of course, they'll have to. I'm sure they'll want to visit with their attorneys first, but A lot of them, they don't care what their attorneys say, they go against the advice of attorneys. We had a pedophile, child molester, that's all he could do, he couldn't stop talking, and he ended up getting a life sentence. Matter of fact, I subpoenaed a news reporter that had moved on from Odessa to California, and he came back in, and he was very instrumental in that case, so, I'm all for him talking to him, for the prosecution standpoint, and getting him put in prison.
I don't know about subpoenaing the news media. It's kind of a hard road.
I don't think I'd have a problem with it all, but I would certainly consult with the prosecutors, before I let them do it, to see if they would be agreeable, that it'd be beneficial to the case. And, I wouldn't have a problem.
Real quickly on, and there's been a few write-ins about this, handling the civil duties of the sheriff's office, serving warrants, so forth.
Our civil division is comprised of a sergeant, 4 deputies, 5. And they are busy. Sergeant Fisher comes in there weekly, telling us how many move-outs he's got, how many evictions he got, how many writs he's got. It's just great, especially in this downtime right now. All the evictions and all the stuff going on like that, they are extremely busy and doing all they can. But 3 of our guys in there are actually they're actually mental health officers. Well, we have an agreement with the city of Odessa that those individuals serve them too. If they have OPD has a person that is mentally unstable or whatever, needs evaluation, those deputies will go and assist the police department. So that pulls away from our civil process. We have 2 individuals assigned to warrants. They stay busy. We've got a lot of warrants to be served right now, and they stay busy all day, every day. Although there are those days they have to help with another division, but they stay busy. We try to get as many of those guys off the streets as we can. Bad guys.
Well, I've worked civil and warrants at the sheriff's office, so I know how busy they are. They're extremely stressed. There's an endless supply of lawsuits. I know Sergeant Deucer and his people are working as hard as they can, but there's no catching up. I would ask for help from, and I know Carl hates me to say this, but from our constables that are elected or other elected officials, I would go to them and see what they could do to assist us, to assist those men and women in there to help them with that civil process. When I was elected constable, and Constable Waters also probably gets civil papers from out of county to serve, so that they know how to handle that process, and that's just another resource that could help us help those men and women with the problem. Warrant division, I've always said that should be expanded. I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of warrants we've got. We had them there when I worked the warrants there. We've got to expand that some way or another. Of course, I would take going to the commissioners and showing them, why we need it and what benefit it'll be to the county and things of that sort. But it's just an endless battle, and it's a thankless battle for those guys. And I pat them on the back for doing the best they can. The mental health, those guys are overworked. They're on call. They have to get up 2, 3 in the morning and haul those mental health people to Rivercrest and San Angelo after working all day, so they're wore out. So I'd like to get here we go with Midland again. I think that's a good model over there, but they created a little mental health task force of the city and other agencies to help their people also.
Okay, guys, I'm about to bust time, so I'm going to ask a very quick question to each of you, and then we're going to do closing statements. Okay. You guys, my understanding that you all agree, kind of early in this already short election cycle, that you would not make personal attacks, you would not, mudsling, and it seems like both of you held to that pretty well. Still, within our audience questions and some things that we've talked about over the past week, a couple things up that I just want to bring up very quickly. First, you might, you're relatively unknown given your length of service in that department. Why do you think that is, and where do you see that leaving you ahead of, early voting, which is very, very soon?
Well, there are a lot of people that don't know me, and I thought I knew everybody before I started this, and I've met a lot of folks, but I think the word of mouth that's out there, all my supporters are supporting me, and I believe that's gonna be my road to success. I've got a lot of good support, even though no one knows my name, and Joe's been around a long time, and everybody knows Joe Commander. They just hadn't known who Mike Griffiths is, and but I think we're gonna be good.
Okay. And Joe, well, he's at, everybody knows Joe Commander. We talked a little bit about Joe Commander stories. And Joe Commander stories, there are some crazy Joe Commander stories. One being that the Steve Miller Band song "Take the Money and Run" is about Joe Commander. There's other stories of Joe Commander "Straighten Out My Kid," or there's other ones of you that are more nefarious, and without holding you accountable for innuendo. Where does that lore come from?
Well, that comes from the hard work I've done in the last 34 years. I aggressively have pursued these criminals, put them in jail. They know it's my job to catch them. It's their job to avoid me. Some days I do my job better than they do theirs. So there's always stories out there that go around. Everybody's got a Joe Commander story, whether it's good or bad. They embellish a lot of them to make them fit their what they want it to seem like. But those stories are not bad. We've got some. A lot of those stories come from the hard, aggressive work I've done. That is the only way those criminals can try to discredit the good work that good officers do. They have no other recourse but to say things that are not true. And that's okay with me because I know better. I've heard the same stories about Mike. That doesn't mean I believe them. If Mike and I had said what people have said we've done, we'd be a poster child for the federal people, I promise you. So Mike and I we're the utmost integrity and character. Nobody can question my character and integrity just like they cannot Mike's. And that's just the nature of the beast when you go into this business. It's just part of it. You've got to have thick skin. You get out there and work as hard as you can and do the best you can for the citizens. I have straightened out a lot of children in this town. I've raised a bunch of them. I have parents that call me quite often that want to bring their kids to my office because I've got a deal where I can run them through that jail to show them those kids that are right on that line that are fixed to step off into the dark side. I've taken them through that jail, and I've not had one come back for a second visit. So it's been very effective.
Okay, closing statements, and I would just remind both of you that this is a binary election. One of you will be sheriff, and this is a final opportunity here to draw some distinctions between you and your opponent. Joe went first with the opening, you go first now.
Well, I'd just like to state that this is my community. I lived here all my life. Never lived anywhere else. Lived right here. My folks still live here. It's the house I grew up in. I'm dedicated to this community. I want this community to be the safest place it can be to raise your kids and your grandkids. We don't want an ugly place, a mean place for our kids to grow up. I have the supervisory experience. I spent 19 years actually on the street behind the wheel of a cop car, over 15 years as a supervisor. I worked 12 years part-time at an oil field company where I was responsible for several multi-million-dollar accounts. Wouldn't be that today, but, I actually supervise people there on a part-time basis. I have the experience to run your sheriff's office. I have the dedication, the desire, and I'm driven to be your sheriff of Ector County, and I appreciate your support and your vote.
Well, I have 34 years of proven law enforcement experience. I've been behind that wheel a long time, like Mike has. I've been behind it longer. I've dedicated my life, my entire career, to protecting the citizens of Ector County and any other place I've worked. I've worked as hard as I can to prevent this dope problem, but that's a problem that is a multi-billion-dollar business, and all we can do is just keep grinding hard on it, and we will. I don't think we're ever going to stop it, but we'll do the best we can with what we've got to work with. My position at the sheriff's office, at the district attorney's office is the highest position in law enforcement at the courthouse, is the chief investigator. I supervise investigators every day that I have assigned to work the district courts. We prepare some of the most horrific cases in Ector County for trial, including capital murders, attempted capital murders, sexual assaults of women and children. I've seen the worst of the worst, and I still get up with that fire in my eye, ready to go to work the next morning. I'm not lazy. The only thing I've been accused of is not knowing when to go home. And I work tirelessly. No one can question my work ethic. Mine is above and beyond everyone. Sometimes I've worked so much that, and honestly, it's made other officers what I call professional jealousy. They've said things like, "Well, is he ever going to go home? Or how much? Are you ever going to sleep?" I told them I'll get enough sleep when I'm dead. So, somebody's got to protect this community, and that's going to be myself and the men and women in the sheriff's office. We're going to do our best and to make this county safe. Like I said before, I think the citizens of Ector County deserve to be safe. If you don't want to live in the most violent city in Texas, and you want something different instead of the same old that we've had for the last 16 years, elect me as your sheriff. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, we could probably go another hour, but we gotta cut it off. Thank you both.